Okay, I think we can start. So everyone has a lot to do, most probably. I will suggest to start first a short round of introduction, and then we can continue with the points which we wanted to discuss about the update of the plugins. Which is blocked because of income. How the CLI projects defines the Go module at the moment, and maybe the future how the plugin should integrate. What do we want to do? Something that reflect the interface and so on. So I'm Behan. I will start. I'm from SAP. I'm involved in the foundation infrastructure working group mostly and the technical oversight committee. And yeah, from the technical oversight committee, we try to technically enable the community help where we see that help is needed. That's why I took the initiative to help here, organize the meeting, and try to somehow discuss what we can do as future plans for the CLI. On my right is Sweta. I don't know. I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry.
No, it's correct.
No.
I'm Shweta. I'm with Broadcom, VMware previously. I've been on CLI for a few years now. So we have had some turnover. We have new CLI team now. We are catching up on that. I've been mostly maintaining the CLI community's CFCLI part.
Mark would be the next on my screen.
Hi, so my name is Mark. I work with Shweta. So I'm getting familiar with the code base of the OSS CLI and trying to get involved as much as I can to help keep it moving forward. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Joel. Joe.
Yeah, my name is João, but since no one can say it, everyone calls me João. I work for Rabobank. We use Cloud Foundry for some years now, and since 2 or 3 years, we started having this issue with the plugin. So I'm the author of this huge PR, which is huge, but with very little content. The idea is to start having the CLI compatible with the Golang version workflow, so that we can update the plugins to the latest version and stuff with the CVEs and things like that.
Thank you, Joel. Christian, you will be next.
Hello. I'm from SAP and I'm part of the development team of multi-app CLI plugin, and we are part of the Cloud Foundry community also. And yeah, I'm interested to understand how we can continue with development with the CLI plugin support and how we can use latest versions of CLI as Golang dependency.
Thank you, Christian. And Norman, you are.
Okay. Norman Bromwitz. I've been involved with Cloud Foundry since 2015. I got involved with the plugins a few years ago as I noticed that some plugins were being archived, and some of our clients, we're more of a consulting company that helped out Broadcom and Pivotal and getting Cloud Foundry to be out in the community. And so when I was trying to upgrade some plugins, I noticed things weren't really changing over time. So I got deeper into that, and I started working with Alexander Boretz, who was also dealing with the CLI and plugins. And I put out a few notes and did some talks on what we should do for plugins. I'm sure Bayhan's, you were there at one of the talks. I was, giving at that point, and I'm hoping to get this thing I'm hoping that we can get this thing off the ground and actually start moving it forward. The plugin architecture is literally 10 years old plus. And so I think it needs to be upgraded over time. And I'm hoping that this group of people can help make that decision happen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I'm also sorry if the time is a little bit challenging for some of you. I don't know in which time zone everyone is. But
Sorry, there's still Vuilam.
sorry?
There's still Vuilam in the call.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No worries. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. First, apologies. I mean, I joined late because the morning commute was kind of complicated for me. So, yeah. Anyway, hi. This is the first time I'm joining a meeting here. My name is William. I work in Broadcom with Sweta and Mark. I'm relatively new to the Cloud Foundry and Linux Foundation, but I have been in VMware, which since got acquired by Broadcom for a long time. But I mostly worked on vSphere until very recently. Yeah, so glad to meet all of you. Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we have so many people. So for the agenda, I put as first topic the open PR on the table to unblock the update for the plugins to consume the latest CLI V8 Go version, which is blocked. So I don't know whether you
Bayhan, we are a new person that just joined.
yeah, okay, Boyan. Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, Boyan. We had just a introduction round. Maybe you can just shortly introduce yourself.
okay. So yeah, I'm part of multi-apps team. It is part of safe runtimes, and yeah, me and Christian, we are from the same team. And I'm not sure if Christian already mentioned, but yeah, we have plugin, CLI plugin, which is used as a client to our backend.
Yeah, maybe I shortly can show just a second. So basically, in the community, we have the Cloud Foundry community repository where we manage the working groups, also the reviewers, the approvers, everything. And here, if we go to the application interfaces working group where the CLI is, yeah, here we have the CLI, and here, if I'm not mistaken, we have here the multi-apps. This is what Boyan and Christian were talking about. This is the area for the multi-apps plugin, which is also part in the community, just for everyone to okay. And yeah, as mentioned, the first this one, the first agenda point is about the proposal how we can unblock the update on the plugin side to consume the latest CLI version. I don't know whether Sweta, you are active approver in the project. What is your opinion on that one? Do you think this is the right path to go, or should we better go to something different?
I mostly agree with the changes here, but our only concern was about the breaking change part, since we are moving one of the projects into this. Greg has mentioned in one of the comments the thoughts. But I think this change as such has been coming for some time now. The request has been coming. But we didn't go ahead with this because of the breaking change concern.
Well, what I didn't understand, sorry, if I can, I don't know if it's free form or not.
Just to say, you are a little bit hard to get a little bit, the voice is too low.
Oh, let me see if I.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Okay. So the one thing I didn't understand specifically, it's the concern about the breaking change, because because the breaking change would be for anyone outside of the CLI project using it as a library. But in fact, it would not be a breaking change, because first, if they use Go modules, they can't import it at the moment. And of course, as soon as you add V8, and that's actually the only thing which I kind of find interesting in the whole Golang workflow, is that as soon as you put V8, effectively, you're having a new dependency. So you're not breaking existing dependencies. So I did see the comment about the worry about a breaking change, but I don't understand how a breaking change, well, what the breaking change actually is, basically.
So historically, CLI stance has been we don't support it as a module. So if anyone has used this as a module, they would have had to use it as a commit SHA, which is not ideal way to do it. Now, if we want to make it as a module, and we have told people like we don't support it, and we are starting to support it now, and it involves some major code changes for people who are consuming it. That is,
Yeah, but what happens is, I think the community in general, not talking about the Cloud Foundry community, but in general in Golang, everything is moving on to GoMod because it's just a much better way to handle dependencies, right? So what people have is actually a dependency on v710 as incompatible, and that dependency will actually stay. So as soon as we upgrade to V8, nothing will break. So there might be some projects perhaps in the world that still use, they're not using modules, and perhaps they're just using directly the dependency of the CLI, and then perhaps it will break, but they should be able to actually see it breaking quite fast, and the update should be very simple. That's why I don't personally, and just giving my 2 cents, I don't think that itself should be a big concern, as I don't expect the impact to be that big, and that those who will be impacted by it, because I actually made sure that I wouldn't be changing functionality with this PR. It's just a matter of actually adding the V8 there, and we can do that in some release notes or so, that, informing people to do that. But just as a final remark, this PR, so we're talking, I think part of the agenda is talking about, okay, what would be the future and stuff. This is actually not the future. This is just the intermediate step.
Yes, yeah.
Right. When I did my upgrade, I just made sure I linked with the V8 code base. So I found the proper plugin commit, and I just changed my level such that I just went directly to at least to the V8 code versus the V6 code. And this way, whatever you were carrying forward from V8, I was at least compiling with the latest changes, whatever you guys did with it, versus being stuck at the version 710. The other way you could resolve this, maybe this simple issue, is actually just continue publishing out to the Golang packages, or at least one for V8 and one for V7, whatever you want to put out there. And then people can just pick it up and run with it at that point. Because then at least the Go modules will, their Go plugins, I don't want to call it modules, would be able to at least compile with the latest code. And therefore, there was any minor differences. One of the things I was concerned about was we are still, the CLI is still linking with code that has been archived. And so there's places where it has dead code. I call it dead code because no one's maintaining it. And so at least if you publish one version of it, whatever you guys have, at least that is code that is being considered, that is being maintained in some way, even though the code is archived. So there's some assurance to the community that the code is correct. I mean, I heard one person for a different project that, well, somebody looked over the code base and actually looked at what was behind the scenes. They wouldn't use the code. And I know no one does that because if they did, there's a lot of archived code out in the CLI stuff. And so I got worried, that's what I was worrying about. Nothing changed basically from 2019 or 2020 timeframe. And it's been 5 years, right? So obviously things have changed.
Yeah,
So
that was actually one of the issues I had with this PR was exactly that, because the CF networking API, it's an archive project, and I'm pretty sure it was once upon a time part of the CLI because it has exactly the same structure, and that's actually the only thing which is a little bit more well functionally changing in the PR, which is I vendored the package in so that we could just use it. But I do think that, for example, considering the fact that we have the Go Tools project, for example, for the CF API, I do think it would be interesting to actually start having those libraries in the Go Tools work group, and just having the CLI start using the CF client and perhaps a networking client. There's another one in another work group who also maintains the client used for the networking policies. And for those, I think it would be much better to actually just start using those libraries because they are being maintained and evolved with the change of the API. And it would be just much better instead of having such a bulk dependency on not a bulk dependency, but a bulk piece of code just doing it all by themselves in the CLI itself. So sorry, I interrupted you, Norman.
no, you're on the same page as I was, so no problem. And so I was just trying to get to making sure that all these things are actually resolved. And that's exactly the same reason I know that I have concerns as well. So we need to do something. This is at least better than what we have. So we got to keep evolving it. And what the future holds is a whole different story.
Yeah. So here is a proposal. Also, Greg mentioned the more aggressive option would be to make the change for V8. And another more conservative option would be to make a new for the next version of the CLI.
Yeah.
I'm personally more in favor of the V8. And the reason is very simple. I mean, I'm guessing there will be a V9 and a V10 eventually in the future, but this is, in my opinion, this is actually just a do update. So when the Go workflow version workflow came into place, well, basically the project should have been updated in such a way to support the V8 thing. There's what I think one of the issues, but not for now. Let's say for the future, one of the things I think is that actually the CLI is actually an app, so it's a command line tool, right? But it's a little bit exceptionally, let's say, it's also being imported as a library. So the funny thing is, while the the version of the app itself is indeed version 8, the version of what you use it as a library, perhaps it's not 8 at all. Perhaps it's still version 1 or version 2, or at least version 3, let's say, because of the new Cloud Controller API. So it's we're tagging along with the version of the CLI and pushing that into the version of it as a library, but it's, I find it a little bit counterintuitive because I wonder if it even from a library perspective, from what it actually exports to be used as a library, I wonder if it actually had so many changes that demanded, you know, 8 major versions. And especially because, as Norman said, most of the structure and infrastructure of the whole CLI, it's actually kept the same since forever. But yeah, but that's just a side remark. I personally, the only thing I want is actually to move forward. And one of the reasons I would also like to have it for V8 is that V8 is effectively now the main version of the CLI. So if we would do that on a V9, then yeah, I would expect then the V9 CLI to be released, let's say. But for that to happen, there's another important change to happen, which is not included in this PR, which is actually start using the V3 API, because the plugin library, it's actually still bound to the V2 calls.
Yeah.
And yeah, making a new version and still having it on V2, I mean, I don't find it very very intuitive. So I would personally put on the V8 and perhaps start working on the migration for the V3 API to make everything compatible, or even, you know, actually drop all that piece of code, because what happens is when you use I actually made a small project called CF plugins to kind of wrap the V2 calls and just allow projects to still use the same methods from the CLI connection that the plugins get. But it's actually very interesting because even though it's a plugin without any security whatsoever. So the plugin is started within the same user in the same environment as the CLI has started. And that means it's very easy. One of my colleagues actually did that for his upgrade on his plugin. It's very easy for you to just have access to the CF home and get the token from there, and then create a CF client and just use it. So in this other CF plugins, the only thing I did was actually I create a CLI connection based on the CF API, and instead of going through the CLI for using RPC to actually call all of those things like you know, get me the service details, or get me the service broker details, or the app details based on the current context, it does that on the plugin side itself. And the only thing that it uses RPC for is to get the token, get the flag for if the no SSL is flag is on, and to get the current context. So on which organ space the user currently is, so that you can actually have a contextualized call.
I see, but this could be maybe something you can propose as an option how to refactor the plugin interface. I just wanted to mention that in the TOC, in the community, we already accepted an RFC. So RFC is a request for comment. So the way how we introduce bigger changes to the platform. And we have a process for that, which is managed by the TOC. And here the RFC has been accepted when we will get one V2 APIs have their end of life, and this is actually mid-end of 2026. So until then, we have to have a solution for the plugins. Otherwise, they will stop to work with Cloud Foundry deployments, which do not include any more the V2 APIs.
We actually turned it off already in some of the environments, and that's why we did this wrapper and started using everything with V3, so that so that things could continue to work. Let's say.
Okay, so you have experience then. But now back to this point. So I think multi apps is also blocked to update to the latest CLI version, if I'm correct. So Bojan,
Yes, this is correct. We are blocked into consuming newer versions of the CLI.
that means you will prefer also to have it in have it for version 8, most probably.
Yeah.
Can I understand the nature of the blockage? I mean, like in theory, I mean, it's not a nice situation here, but one could still, in theory, consume the right commit from the right branch, as part of, I guess, building a plugin. No.
The problem is with Go. I don't know if this is your problem, but at least the problem we found is with Go. So when you have when you use modules and you try to import a version into modules, you can import libraries and repositories which are not modularized. But unfortunately, if they are, it will actually check if it follows the Go workflow version. So the CLI is, well, from a CLI perspective, it is modularized in the sense that it manages the dependencies using Go mod, but the version or the tag is V8 something, right? What will happen is if you try to import the V8, it will actually fetch the correct branch and the correct commit, but then it will try to match the name of the module with the version. The version is V8, and according to convention of the Go workflow versioning, the module name must have a suffix with V8 somewhere, either with a dot or something that actually differentiates it. And because the Go mod doesn't have it, the import will fail because it will mismatch. Now, and that's what this PR is for, actually, to update the Go module name to match the version that it supposedly offers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's exactly your problem, Christian, but at least that's the main problem I see.
And the way I got around it was to actually find a proper commit that matches the code that goes with V8. So I didn't have to put V8 into my list. And so when I did the dependency update, I updated it based upon the commit ID.
Commit ID, yeah.
Right. And that allowed us to move forward with using the code from V8 without actually having a V8 in the path, which is, I would say, is a workaround, but it got past this issue. I also agree with Zhao that we should do it properly, which means if you're going to do a V8, then publish a V8 from your V8 code, up to the Golang packages area and such. So when people say, what's the latest? They get the latest. And it shouldn't be any issue for anybody at that point.
I did find your workaround very interesting. I read the documents that you shared. I found it interesting. The only thing is indeed then, for every single commit or every release, you have to go back and then, I have to get the commit. And yeah, it's a little bit more maintenance.
Yeah, but the point was I didn't have to worry about, I could do it independently, right? So
yeah,
and it was just another
it
way
was
of,
very good.
it was not just another way of accomplishing the same thing without trying to go through the RFC process.
Yeah, I was essentially talking about the workaround too. So I mean, that's why I was curious about the nature of the blockage. But I do agree. I mean, this workaround is not, it's not ideal. I mean, it's also somewhat error prone if you're not careful. I mean, pick the wrong commit and you could end up in the wrong branch and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that my understanding is basically we see that this is something which actually is fine to go for to fix the current situation, at least to import the packages properly.
Yeah. And the other nice thing that if we can make it happen is the V8 CLI is actually designed for the V3 interface, right? In terms of it's all been changed. Correct me if I'm wrong, other than for the plugins. So if we can just make sure that the plugin code is actually doing whatever it needs to do its predefined interfaces for the things that are there. Anything that people are doing outside of it is outside the scope of what the plugin does, right? Because the plugin provides you function calls for certain things, and everything else is pretty much done by hand. And so therefore, if you want to bring these things up to grade, that'd be great. The other thing that is unclear for me is because you have a V8 and a V7, people are still going to be using the V2 interface, just because they're not willing to upgrade so quickly. So people have to be very well aware that they should be using the V7 CLI or the V8 CLI if you're going to V3. And that also affects the plugins because now plugins are more than just one environment, one way things work. And now there's one for V2, one for V3, and that should be maintained, whatever window of time that we have. And then V9 level for me was okay, or V10, whatever it needs to be, will be whatever new way we want to do it, right? Which I was talking about during my talks. Let's break the world. Let's find something that makes it a little less dicey when we make changes like this.
I agree.
Just Sweta, she has.
Yes. Actually, I had raised hand to talk about JAWS V8 versus V9, but Norman, let me answer the V7, V8. V7 has been deprecated starting last. So officially, CLI V7 we are not supporting anymore. I know plugins, they still need to use that because there is no other module, but I just wanted to put it out there. And coming to releasing a separate version for these changes, I agree with Joao. I don't think we should go with V9 if we release this one as a different version. It's better if we stick with V8 because already we are maintaining 2 branches, even though we are not releasing one of them. And the main branch of CLI has some features which is awaiting to be released for years now, but they are not so big that they call for their own new version. It's mostly the way the columns are ordered. this had come up, I think, some time back. It's CLI's versioning policy that if you add a column in between in a display table, it's considered as a breaking change. So there were talks about removing that breaking change starting V9 onwards, giving a JSON flag. It was brought up in one of the working group calls. It's been a while. So that is the reason I'm thinking it's better to stick to V8 with these changes. If we want to make it a different release version, we will pick the main, which is the future V9, and add it there instead of not taking main and not taking V8 and creating a new branch with V9. We'll end up maintaining 3 branches, which is not ideal.
Yeah.
I would actually suggest, I'm going to share here a link. What I would actually suggest is a bit what Norman said also. So V9 would be the future, let's say, which is already being maintained. Oh, well, the main is the V9, right? But for V8, I would say first step this. A second step could be do something like I just shared the link what we did with CF plugins, which basically emulates a little bit the calls that it would go to V2, but it just does it from the client, or not. But basically, we would just stop having the V2 calls through the plugin, and then all the ideas regarding how the plugins would actually be in the future and so forth. It would yeah, and that I would do in the main, and have do it properly, as Norman says. So.
I think for the plugins, we should follow also the RFC process and create one where we can support. But first, the discussion needs to happen how we want to organize that, what should be the concept we want to go for, and then having RFC so that other plugin maintainers also have the chance to maybe give their feedback for the proposal. But yeah, I also think makes sense to go on the V9 for that. Yeah. I don't know about Boyan, Christian, you are plugin maintainer. What do you say?
Martin, if you're talking, your mic's off.
Yeah. Okay, they maybe don't hear, but yeah, and also if we think about the removal RFC for end of life of V2, that means V9 needs to be released sometime mid of the year, 2026. So that people can migrate to that one when V2 is not supported anymore. Yeah, there is hands.
Yeah, so I had a question somewhat related to what Sweta was talking about. I guess prior to publishing V8, I mean, there are some changes that if I've gone into, gone to V8, it will be going to this branch, it would have technically be considered a breaking change. But once you publish a version, I mean, if we go with the goes like versioning policy, making changes from now on would require you to bump the major version. So are there any things that we want to consider? Maybe even making changing out the definition of breaking, or accepting some changes now before we actually officially stamp a V8 version, before we actually publish V8.
I didn't really understand.
Like, let's just take the example that's what I mentioned. Like, if you have taking a change that caused a column, to be moved. If I understand correctly, traditionally this has been considered a breaking change. But would such a change be do we want to consider accepting such a change into this V8 version?
Well, for this PR in particular, and even with a proposal of having an emulation and or rewriting of the plugin to stop using V2, in that perspective, there would be no breaking changes because it doesn't change any output, it doesn't change any RPC messages or anything.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm not talking about this change in particular, but assuming like this change, goes in, do we still need to? Are there any additional changes we might want to consider before we
Actually,
stamp
Stefan came a bit late to this meeting. We plan, not immediately, but let's say in the next half year, to extend service binding CLI commands to support service binding rotation for rolling upgrades. There's an RFC that also proposes what kind of changes, additional parameters should be introduced, and that includes also changes in the UI output. For instance, a service binding grid, because you can have multiple and you want to delete second one. So that would probably, according to today's rules, be considered as an incompatible change. And actually, I'm very in favor of giving up this rule. I find it strange to a UX tool to have, let's say, the column format to allow even users or encourage them to pass CLI output. Looks strange to me unless you have a dedicated format for that. And we have that already with CF curl, right? Even without a full re-implementation of a minus JSON output.
We had some pushback from community earlier because of that. Even the breaking change policy is little conflicting at the different places. One place we tell output is not guaranteed. In another place we tell in minor versions, like if we change the column order of output, it's a breaking change. So there is conflicting. So to get over this, the proposal was to bring in the JSON flag, but and change the versioning policy starting V9. So we will tell clearly that CLI is not going to like it is not a breaking change if column order changes.
So I like this proposal. But yeah, maybe it's also another thing we should open an RFC for that, so that we can collect input and talk about this way forward. And if that's the case, I would actually prefer to bring out V9 sooner than later. I don't know how long it takes, but because otherwise you basically block functional enhancements in the CLI.
Okay, so my understanding is that we have an agreement about the change here, that it makes sense to go with that for version 8.
Ben, can I ask one question on making this change in V8? And so there's some discussion, is this a breaking change, is it not? And so, like, what is the statement for customers who currently import this? Will that process need to change?
Well, if they import it the same way as Norman described, using the actual commit ID, then they should start importing it as a module. If they import the outdated version, well, nothing will change until they actually update their import to start using V8. But that would mean they're also not using the V8 code base.
Yeah. So basically, it is not possible to import the current version with the approach how Go support is. Norman, what said Norman is a workaround if you want to import it somehow.
But even projects that currently imported in that way would still not be affected because the libraries are actually importing the commit ID. So yeah, they would have to then update their import, start using V8 in a normal way. But as long as they keep things as they are, nothing would break for them actually, because it's fixed on the commit ID.
Yeah.
I'm sort of following. Vui, does this make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I was gonna ask to clarify your question. Were you talking when you talk about like sort of customers, we're talking about consumers of CLI, like like plugins and tools, or are you asking whether there's material change to let's say plugins to the users, who ends up needing to consume the new version, this new module version?
Yeah, so I guess it would be customers who are doing some sort of wrapper on the CLI. And so
Yeah, then I think I agree what Joe is saying. I mean, whatever they're doing now, then when you have to change the way they import, the import the CLI code. But there shouldn't be any material changes to their code after they do so.
okay.
And while they don't change it, actually nothing changes also. Everything will still continue to work as it is now.
Okay, I'm good.
And
So are we violently agreeing now that we should publish it? Is that what it sounds like to me? I mean, I'm open to any way that we can make the community move forward and get this on the V8 route. I don't care. I just want a solution. I don't care what it is. So I'm not worried about breaking changes. If it's a breaking change, it's a breaking change. And for people who are maintaining plugins, they will find out about it and fix it. But even finding out who has private, what I'm going to call private plugins versus public plugins, the public plugins are the ones that are in the that are in the what do you call it? The plugin
The limbo.
community, right? And people have plenty of I'm assuming people have private plugins that they'll be maintaining. We'll find out at that point, right? So as long as you tell them what they need to do, make it work. I don't have an issue with this type of break, if you want to call it breaking change or not, if there's a new column or not. I mean, people should be very well aware if you're getting stuff out of a CLI and you expect the output to stay the same, you're not being realistic, right? Output.
No, but just to be clear, Norman, this change in particular, it's not a breaking change.
It's
In
not a
that
breaking
respect,
change.
definitely not.
yeah,
I agree
yeah,
with you. It's not a breaking change.
yeah. But regarding how we need to evolve the plugin interface, I think this is a separate discussion which
Yeah.
maybe we can decide here where we want to do the discussion and agree on an approach. No, I don't think that we can agree now on an approach.
Oh no, we have
No.
no idea what the approach would be at this point.
Yes, yeah.
This whole thing is just, as I mentioned, it's a step. It's a step.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then the
yeah.
future still needs to be discussed.
Yes, my understanding is that we have agreement about the first step here, and regarding where we should do the discussion for the evolution of the plugin interface. I don't know, Stefan, do you have in the working group a place where you because RFC is already a concept which is everyone, at least in the area, you have agreement what you want to do. and you propose the RFC. So the idea is already accepted in the area. But to get to that agreement in CLI area and between the plugins, which we have here in the working group, I think we need to talk.
I think in the area, there is only, let's say, little discussion that goes beyond, also in the working group, that goes beyond the different areas. That's maybe a weakness of the ARI working group. We do have these monthly working group meetings where you can actually join, but the participation is mostly CAPI and from time to time somebody from CLI, but there is not that much and deep discussion. I'm very open to change that, but so far it simply doesn't take place. What we do for cloud controller related similar changes, for instance, for the storage CLI thingy that we are currently working on, it usually starts as an issue in the repo, for instance, now here in the CLI repo, where we discuss it internally in the team, and once it is good enough and goes in a nice direction, then we can decide to make a RFC out of it, of a rediscussed paper. So that would be my proposal. In CAPI, we have a special section for so-called ADRs, these design records, and that's where, for instance, the discussion on the storage CLI actually started. Or it's more a discussion on how to replace FOC. Storage CLI was then already the pre-discussed thingy that we then proposed as an RFC. So yeah, why not opening an issue on the CLI repo and start the discussion there?
I think, Joe, what you shared here maybe is a good input for the discussion. I don't know. Or Norman, you also had some ideas and discussed with O. Unfortunately, I think O is not anymore with Broadcom.
No, he's not. I will contact him and see what
But
what
I
he's up
think you
to.
had also a document where you described some ideas which you
Yes,
share in that issue, and I think we can start build on that and try to agree on something. I think when we have the final understanding about the concept, we will know then how breaking is the concept, whether it can go in V8 or is it something for V9 because it's a breaking change. And then we can decide why it makes sense to go with that. First, I think we need to agree on the idea what we want to do about this plugin.
Sorry, I can't find the hand thing. My eyes are going crazy. I'm for the concept, keeping V8 to what we need to do now and get this thing out such that people are running with, let's say, code not from V6 time, but whatever it needs to be for V8, which for V8 is V3 code at this point. V9 is a whole new interface that's the CLI team is building. At that time, whenever you want to introduce the V9 code, that's where I believe the breaking change will be. I also believe that whoever wants to join in and have open discussions, open minds of what we can do for V9 in terms of how the interface could be built, because there's lots of different models out there. Whatever you want to do as a subgroup or whatever you want to, whoever needs to own it, let's get some ownership of that going, because there's no way we could do RFCs until you have the discussion of what you want to do in the RFC. And right now we have no idea. So RFCs is way too soon to do it. That's what I think I called it memorandum, right, of something, just stating an opinion. Okay, so if we can get people who have interest, like Joel, myself, and view on what the new interface should be, then maybe the CLI team should say, hey, we're going to introduce a subgroup, have these guys talk about it, and let us come up with a proposal. And I'm not going to say it's an RFC yet because I want to get feedback. And then once we know about it, now the RFC to me is what we're going to build, right?
Yes,
From
yes,
the
yes, of course. This is what I, yeah. If we agree that we can start with an issue, maybe we can, who wants to open the issue? I think we don't have any issue now in that direction.
No, you don't. And it's not an issue for your, it's really not a bug. It's kind of like, how do I want to phrase it? It's
It's
even
not
it's not even an issue yet because you're not doing anything
an
with the bug.
improvement, feature request, it's an improvement, but we don't have, yeah, I think starting with issue, we have in Bosch, at least in Foundation Infrastructure Working Group, we use sometimes discussions, but it's up to the, yeah, I think it doesn't matter much. It can be also an issue, yeah.
Okay. So,
It's just
if
to
nobody
start
wants to
with.
open, if we need to open an issue for you, Bayhan, I'll open the issue. I'll work with Joel to make sure the issue is written so it try to covers more than just my personal opinion. Okay, I'll take ownership just because that's what you're asking for. And if anybody wants to join me on this effort, let's have some quick open discussions before we do this. And you could always send me um, your email, whatever, so we can have another meeting. Or, Bayhan, if you want to make another meeting just on this one topic and invite the community, that's great. As I said, when I try to get the community to respond, I try to do it through a Google Doc, right? But I had very little action at that point, and so I'm just waiting. I was just waiting for it. So, whoever wants to talk about what could be the future,
Yeah, I will
great.
take to promote that so that people also we can use the Slack channel, and if we need another channel, we can discuss. So I think we have we had a great discussion, and everyone time is valuable. So I thought 1 hour will be enough, and thank you all for joining and showing the interest. It will be great if we can, collaborate on the topics we discussed now, and yeah, build the path forward for the CLI.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and open up with just a general feature request, and then say this is work in progress, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, sounds great. Yeah.
And then
You'll open it in the issues in GitHub?
I'll open an issue just with not very much details in it because we haven't decided what they are yet. But I'll at least open an issue where we can start putting out some comments in there. But I do.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but I do agree that we need to. I'll write in there. I do think we have to meet in 2D version, if not 3D version, if we could, and do some whiteboarding or whatever to figure out what is the future.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. And with other working groups, we had dedicated Slack channels. If you think we can profit from that, we can also create a dedicated Slack channel so to discuss in Slack direct discussions, having direct discussions.
I'm fine with direct with a Slack channel. Again, I'm not in the working group per se, right? This to me is a subgroup of the CLI group. So as long as you allow us to have that discussion, because I think there was something called plugins dev or something like that you had, or you're producing.
Okay.
So we could do it in there, and anybody who's been on this call should at least be a member of that, because we have enough interest in making this. We have an interest in making this happen. We would never showed up otherwise, right? And thank you, Van, for reminding me I had this meeting. I was deep in work.
Well, I'm happy that it helped the Slack reminder. Okay, then have a nice evening, day, or morning, and yeah, we'll continue the discussion. And thank you for your time. Yeah.
As I
Thanks,
said
Ed.
before, good morning, goodbye from the morning, goodbye from the afternoon, and goodbye from the evening.
Okay.
Yes.
Cheers.